Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Faded Angelos here, coming at you with a Ravenbound video. It's a lot of people have been dropping in, and apparently there are a lot of things that I've figured out that a lot of people don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. So one of the first things you should do, I have like 30 hours into the game now, and I've made it past all three bosses into the betrayal fight. Still working on clearing that one. I've been really close a couple times, but so without further ado, the first thing you should always do when you start your run is, as you saw, you make your way to the Tear of Hatred that gets exposed every time you enter a new zone. That gives you a free 5 mana the first time, 7 mana the second fight, and 9 mana the third and before the betrayal fight. This will help you out exponentially in getting your build going, whichever way you're going with the build. Just keep in mind this is almost mandatory for you to do. This should be your first step every time, going straight to the tear, getting the mana, killing the enemies there, and getting that mana to start off your build. The second thing you should do is you should always look around after you clear that tear, because there will be beams of light that will be in nearby camps. Those are free chests. Those chests allow you to go ahead and redeem the treasure inside. That can be more mana, gold. You may be able to spend 2 mana to pull 3 cards from your whole collection of cards, or you can just get a free relic slot as well. So those are definitely useful for you to do. The blue lights are going to be just mana chests. So if you're really hurting for those, you can run to those first. The yellow ones, and if there's a really orange one, it's kind of more gold. Um, the gold one is for gold chests. Those have higher quality and better cards inside, while the yellow chests have any type of rarity inside. You have a chance of getting gold cards, but they may also be silver and bronze. So you'll need to just keep a lookout for that. There can be up to 4 camps that you can get those treasure chests from. So I recommend going into Raven Form at a nearby platform and scouting around, seeing where you can see the beams of light. Go do those camps and get the treasure as quick as possible. The next thing you need to do is you'll need to pay attention to what cards you're getting from enemies. So, for instance, the regular bandits will always have the little circular, the ones with the little helmets with horns. Those will always have the circular emblem cards. So, when you have fragments, each time you redeem those fragments, they will be blue. Those are going to be those cards. Then you have another type, the little goblins. They give you red fragments. Those are for fire emblems. Those give you uh, more akin to like burning damage kind of specification cards, as well as focus generation increase. Um, if you go after the Hoxa, they come in 2 forms. They can be the Ghost Ladies with twin daggers, or they can be the Spellcaster guys. The Ghost Ladies with twin daggers, there will be a little spiral. There'll be like a kind of a vortex. Those will give you multi-strike chance. They can also give you uh, electricity to electrify enemies, which electrify does a dot that actually does stagger damage as well. So that's really useful. And then the final one you have are the Dragar. Well, there's not the final one. There's one more after that. So the Dragar are undead. They have crit chance. They have stagger damage. They have a little bit of everything and ailments. And then the final one, that is the real final. No, there's one more after this. I apologize. So the next one are, I call them the nature ladies. They're uh, the female monsters that have branches on their heads and extend their hands out. Those ones give out a unique ailment called Spore, which roots enemies around you and they're unable to act. They will also give you a chance on crit to trigger bleeds, as well as a good weapon damage boost mod. There's a bunch of different things that they supply as well. And then the final one, 100% the final one this time, is the trolls. Those will give a lot of defense and freeze. So you'll want to definitely make sure that if you are building in that type, you're going to kind of be struggling because those are pretty hard enemies to kill without a build going. So just focus on what you're trying to do with your build. You will need to make sure you're paying attention to every single ailment you're picking up or every single enemy you're fighting. Don't just go around picking up everything you want. If your camps that you get from the tear happen to be not a type of enemy you need, don't pick up those fragments. Go try to find the fragments that you actually need for your build. That will help you progress and keep your damage stacking, as well as if you need any defenses, get them stacking as well. The next thing you should do is once you've have all of your hate fragments, and at the bottom you see the bars filling up with my playthrough in the background. Once that gets locked, you need to stop gathering fragments. Do not redeem anymore because every time you redeem all three of those fragments, that one will be locked when it's fully read. What that means is that every time you reveal that to try to redeem another fragment or try to get another card, while that's fully read, the bosses and elites in your world get 5% more health and 5% more damage every time. So if you're trying to do your first clear on the areas, it's obviously going to be a lot easier for you to just let that lock and do not redeem anymore past that. You can pick up fragments if there's enemies that you really like you ran into a gold enemy or a silver enemy and it's really early on. You can pick up their fragment and hold off on redeeming it until you get into your next zone after you beat the boss, but you can only get rid of those hate locks after you defeat a boss. You defeat a boss, one boss, it takes away one fragment or one lock. So if you have hate accumulation past that one lock, that's still going to be there. It will only take away the one full lock. So just gain enough of those fragments to get that one red lock and then don't get any more. That will be your time to fight. The first boss is generally pretty easy. You don't need to worry about, having everything completely online at that point. You will be fine. Just make sure that you are paying attention to how many you're gathering, because I know it's very tempting to run around and gather as many of those as you possibly can and try to get as strong as you can early. But that will screw you up in the long run because the final boss will have way too much HP and way too much damage. It's going to run over and one shot you. Next thing you need to worry about is that once you've played through a couple times, when you spawn in with a new character or when you beat a boss, you don't have to necessarily run towards the first gate you see that's right in front of you. You can, if you have a particular area you prefer to go to, you can turn around and go through a different gate. So that's one thing a lot of people don't know is that you don't have to just sit there and focus on, well, this is the gate in front of me, run out and do it. No, you can go to whatever area you want. I highly recommend going to areas that actually are a lot tougher move sets for bosses. So, for instance, like the Great Axe, the Twin Axes, the Twin Swords can be a little tricky, but I would leave the Sword and Shield and the Great Sword as one of your final ones. If you don't know which zones those are in, the Twin Axes are in the mountain fields. It looks like a little mountain icon when you run out of it. The Twin Swords are in the ice field, the ice area. The Sword and Shield is in it's kind of the darkness area. It looks like a moon. That will be the Sword and Shield boss. And then the Great Sword's in the wind area, and the Great Axe is in the fire area. So, like I said, I would recommend doing one of those other bosses early, so that way you can get their tough move sets out of the way because they are pretty spammy, and that requires a lot of dodging and paying attention to their mechanics. So, if you're having trouble with that, you may want to get them out of the way early. The next thing I'm going to go over is what type of build types have been successful for me. So I have, like I said, I've cleared 3 bosses twice now, and with 2 different builds. Um, they have been, one has been with stagger stacking with impact and actual stagger damage, as well as crit damage and crit chance. that was really powerful, and multi-strike. And both these builds included multi-strike. And then the next one I did was a little bit more ailments. There was stagger stacking in it too, but I also had multi-strike on this as well. That was really powerful. Multi-strike is a really strong mechanic to use. I would recommend always getting multi-strike, even if you're using twin-handed weapons or even just sword and shield. How multi-strike works is every time you attack, it has a chance, sorry, to trigger again, even if you're not actually attacking again. So you hit them once, you have a chance of hitting twice. And so that will happen on each one of your attacks in your combo. Obviously, that can get pretty crazy. And if you're doing two-handed weapons, that can immediately stagger some enemies. So it's a great thing to keep in mind. Now, as you can see, there are some things that are wrong with the game, as they don't actually spawn NPCs sometimes. You have to wait around for them, or you can actually zone out further and go back to where they weren't zoned in, and they will appear. That's just kind of an issue that's going on with the game. The other thing that you need to pay attention to is um, the weapon types you're using have different types of move sets. So, for instance, the great sword, when you dash and use a primary attack, it can do a special animation where you turn and swing in a wide arc and kind of lock you in that animation. There is a special animation for every single one of the move sets during this. Uh, I would recommend steering away from twin swords because that animation locks you completely in your spinning around, because you spin around with the twin swords and slash everything in a circle. Unless you're powerful enough to stagger everything around you, I would not recommend using that weapon type. Like I said, it's just going to be an experience. Um, so yeah, just go ahead and make sure you're keeping an eye on those major things. These are just beginner tips that will help you progress further. Another thing you should always be doing is the quests. They will show up as an exclamation point, a green exclamation point on your map. That gives you a free 100 gold every time you complete them. And I know what you're thinking, 100 gold, that's not really much, but that can save your life because that's two heals from the village. That's a full heal with the village because each heal gives you 100 health. So just keep in mind, every time you go to a new zone, you should be doing the tears, you should be doing the quests. Make sure you have after you complete the tears, make sure you fly up and make sure you get all of the chests that are free in your area so you can actually redeem the rewards and be as powerful as you can every boss fight. I do recommend that you do start off with some kind of heavy weapon like a two-handed axe or a two-handed sword. That is the easier playstyle, it seems, and is pretty powerful. Um, so I would recommend doing that. But as you saw in the background, if you ever open up a chest that gives you an item that is locked by that red cloud, like this one, that will give you a hate fragment. Those hate fragments will increase the boss's damage and elites, not just bosses, but all elites in the game, which elites are the ones that have the special icon and drop fragments for you. They will increase their health and damage by 5% every time one of those are revealed in your set of three. So right now, it's locked. You should not be getting any more of those fragments because that will increase the damage. Like I opened up that chest, now the boss is going to have 5% more health and 5% more damage. You want to avoid that to make sure that you can actually get through the boss fight with a relative ease. There are um, the different move sets between the bosses. It's going to take some time to learn. The final boss, the Betrayer, is really difficult because there's a move set or a move that it doesn't actually have much of a windup, but will swipe like 5 times in front of it. And if you're just trying to zerg it down, you're going to die because those swipes do so much damage. It's ridiculous. But trying to think, is there anything else that I should have to go? Oh, let me go over luck really quick. So luck, there's a couple of things luck does determine. Sorry. So luck can determine what rarity of cards actually get revealed whenever you reveal cards. And They also reveal the chance of whenever you break pots, you'll find these pots in castles in the game and in villages, give a chance of giving gold. The more luck you have, the higher chance this will be. This is what I've seen from testing myself. Um, I have I ran a couple characters that had absolutely no luck, and then I had ran a character that had not too much luck. It was like only 11 or 12% luck, but they still shown that they were getting a lot more uh, coins out of the vases when I broke them than all my other characters were. So that may be something you want to spec in. I know that some of the weapons require you to be lucky. I don't know if you have to reach a certain luck threshold for that to work, but the luck boosting items are only going to be from the Hoxa. So that is the ghost ladies that have twin daggers or the mage guys that shoot electricity. So that's going to be your go to if that's something you want to try out. Like I said, I think the strongest archetypes for you to go through and actually progress are Greatsword because of high stagger, Great Axe because of high stagger, or go in ailments stack. So the best way to do ailment stacking is to fight Draugr to get surge items. So like there's a item that whenever you surge curses everything around you. Curse applies 30 minus 30 defense to whatever's cursed. So that applies to you as well. So you want to avoid curse, but you want to deal curse because that will help you do even more damage. Um, other than that, you can also get another one where you can for Draugr, whenever you attack an enemy that's cursed, you apply a bleed. That is a physical dot, so that will actually give you a lot of damage right there as well. Um, so, like I said, there's many different ways you can approach the game, but these are some things that you should always be doing and always keep in mind when you're playing the game, so that way it makes it easier on you. The game will get harder and harder, but you don't want to speed up the difficulty until you at least have your first clear in the game. Like I said, I'm still working on that, but these are all the guides and tips and tricks that I've picked up during the game. I make it to pretty solidly the third boss, if not to the betrayer now every time when I'm putting together my builds. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. And thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you all in the next video. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer the best as I can. Thank you and have a great one.